for joining us. And let us begin with the biggest story of the week, which once again concerned President Trump. Two words that continue to sound revolting together, like viscous discharge or moist stockings. The president made news on Tuesday with a startling decision.
Breaking news. President Trump has just fired the embattled FBI Director James Comey.
Surprise, everyone! Do you remember normal weeks? Because I don't remember what they felt like. Everything about Comey's firing was unusual, from the fact that he himself found out about it from TV to the termination letter, which was genuinely weird, and not just because it featured Trump's signature, which looks like a heart rate monitor of a hamster on meth. It really does. It looks more like that than it looks like his name. But it was weird because of this.
Trump firing Comey in a bizarre letter stating, "While I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation, I nevertheless concur with the judgment of the Department of Justice that you are not able to effectively lead the Bureau."
Okay, it is just inherently suspicious to try and put words in Comey's mouth as you kick him out the door. That is the equivalent of a breakup text reading, "While I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I was the most enthusiastic, dexterous and intuitive lover you ever had, I nevertheless must terminate your position as my girlfriend." Eggplant emoji. And it kept going, because the White House spent the week emitting a series of confusing and contradictory explanations, claiming that Trump was following the recommendation of his Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who had barely been in office 2 weeks, and that he was acting on behalf of a demoralized FBI, neither of which seemed entirely plausible. And Trump blew up the whole narrative anyway on Thursday when he sat down with Lester Holt and undid 2 days of damage control in just a few sentences.
Monday, you met with the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein.
Right.
Did you ask for a recommendation?
What I did is I was going to fire Comey. My decision. It was not...
You had made the decision before they came in the room.
I was going to fire Comey.
Now, think about what just happened there. Trump is so desperate to appear dominant, he will rush to take the credit for anything, no matter how bad it is. If you wanted him to confess to murder, all a lawyer would have to say is, "Your Honor, the killer could not possibly have been Donald Trump. It must have been someone much stronger and smarter, with a much hotter daughter." And before they finished that sentence, Trump would be yelling, "I did it, it was me, lock me up, lock me up, lock me up." But Trump didn't just clarify who advised him to fire Comey, and quick recap, it was a mirror. He also indicated one reason why he did it.
And in fact, when I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. It's an excuse by the Democrats for having lost an election that they should have won.
What are you doing? I was thinking of the Russia investigation when I fired Comey is the one thing that you are not supposed to say out loud. It is the kind of response that makes you ask 3 questions. 1, can he really be this stupid? 2, does he really think we as a country are this stupid? And 3, are we as a country this stupid? And it's entirely possible the answers to all 3 questions are yes. And it got even worse, as Lester Holt asked Trump about his claim that Comey had exonerated him 3 times.
We said it once at dinner, and then he said it twice during phone calls.
Did you call him?
In one case, I called him. In one case, he called me.
And did you ask, am I under investigation?
I actually asked him, yes. I said, if it's possible, would you let me know, am I under investigation? He said, you are not under investigation.
I call bullshit. I call turbo bullshit on that. There is no way those conversations went down in that manner. Trump has somehow managed to be both a terrible and an amazing liar, and I don't know how that's physically possible. And sure enough, Comey's far more plausible version of the dinner Trump mentioned soon made its way to the press.
Comey told associates that at dinner, the president asked if he would pledge his loyalty. Comey declined, instead telling the president he would always be honest. The president asked 2 more times, and Comey refused again. The 3rd time, Mr. Trump asked for honest loyalty. To that, Comey responded, "Yes, you will have that."
To which Mr. Trump said, how about loyal honesty? And then Mr. Comey said, well, how's that different from honest loyalty? And then Mr. Trump said, if you don't see what difference it makes, just agree to it. And then Mr. Comey said, no way, to which Mr. Trump replied, why not? Scared? Prompting Mr. Comey to respond, idiot says what? To which Mr. Trump replied, what? And then Comey's soul left his body, walked out of the room, turning back to him and saying, are you coming? Because frankly, I'm done with this shit. Now, Trump, unsurprisingly, denied Comey's account, and then on Friday morning, he tweeted something ominous even by his standards.
The breaking news this morning, the President of the United States just threatened the man he fired as FBI director.
In an extraordinary tweet today, Trump warned James Comey better hope that there are no tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press.
Tweets like that are actually really difficult to pass because they are somehow both a borderline obstruction of justice and the meaningless rantings of a confused old idiot. They exist in two opposite states simultaneously. Trump is truly a Schrodinger's arsehole. And I will say this, if he is recording everything that happens in the Oval Office, I actually don't want to hear those tapes. Because I'm assuming it's just his voice muttering the sentence, I never wanted any of this, over and over again, occasionally interrupted by mattress commercial jingles and string cheese farce. So at this point, President Trump has made it very clear. He fired the director of the FBI at least partially due to unhappiness with the Bureau's investigation into his campaign's possible collusion with Russia, which is both shocking and yet completely unsurprising. There is really nothing Trump could do to genuinely shock me right now. If you said he fired Comey because he's investigating Russia, I'd believe you. If you said he did it because Comey is 6'8" and Trump feels like a tiny little man standing next to him, I would believe you. If you said he fired Comey, walked into the Oval Office, spread peanut butter on his genitals, brought in 35 squirrels and yelled, buckle up, daddy's brought dinner, I'd say, sure, yeah, sure, why not? That sounds like something the President of the United States would do. That's the world we live in now. You know what? It is too easy to point at Trump being crazy. That's what he does. That is not going to stop, and it's going to be exhausting for everyone. The important question is, what do the rest of us do? And that brings us to Congress. 534 people less annoying than Ted Cruz, and also Ted Cruz. Because it is time for each and every one of them to pick a lane here. They do have options. Obviously, there are the investigations that are currently ongoing, but they could also press Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein to appoint a special counsel within the Justice Department. But at the very, very least here, they need to acknowledge that what has happened is fucked up and not continue to give non-answers like the one Paul Ryan did when asked about Trump's tape recording threat.
I've decided I'm not going to comment on the tweets of the day or the hour. I haven't seen them all, to be candid with you. Look, the comment, I'm sure some of you probably want to ask this question as well. No one's disputing the fact that the president has the right to hire or fire an FBI director. He made that decision. It's been made.
Yeah, but that's not answering the question, is it? That's just regurgitating what happened. It's honestly incredible to watch a man who spends 90 minutes every morning working out refuse to show any strength whatsoever. Apparently, no part of P90X targets the backbone. And at town halls this week, some members of Congress, like Rod Blum from Iowa, have been in such deep denial, they don't seem aware of how bad what they're saying sounds.
Will you support an independent investigation into Trump and his campaign's purported ties to Russia?
Not at the current time. If Trump was guilty of something, would he fire the FBI director? Because that'd be a pretty dumb move.
Yeah. Yes, it would, Rod. Yes. And unless Blum has a disease where he says genuine things in a sarcastic voice, that was also a very stupid thing to say. Oh, yeah, right, unicorns are imaginary and penises are where the pee comes from. Whatever, idiots. Leave me alone. The point is, the Founding Fathers created a system of checks and balances to limit the power of the president, but it only works if someone fucking checks or balances. And if you don't, it's no longer on Trump, it's on you. Because when you've got the presidential equivalent of a 5-year-old shitting on the salad bar of a Ruby Tuesdays, at some point, you stop blaming the 5-year-old and you start blaming the people who are not stopping him. Stop that boy, that's what I'm saying. Stop that boy now. Moving on to a quick update regarding New Zealand. Wallaby Fuck Island. Now, you may remember last week we talked about the historically stupid legal battle involving that country's ruling National Party being accused of ripping off the 8 Mile song Lose Yourself by Eminem, or as they call him in New Zealand, Eminem. Our piece was actually brought to the attention of New Zealand's Prime Minister Bill English, the very poorest man's Daniel Craig. And it turns out he is not a fan.
Have you seen the John Oliver piece where he mocks the National Party for allegedly ripping off Eminem?
No, I haven't.
You intend to watch it?
No. You know, for the sake of his audience, I hope it's funny. Some of the stuff I've seen he does isn't very funny.
You really want to do this, Bill? Is this really what you want? Because need I remind you that when your fellow party member, Stephen Joyce, got dick smacked in the mouth by a rubber floppy cock and then suggested someone send the gif over to John Oliver so we can get it over with, we ended that show with a flying dildo palooza. So careful, Bill, because when it comes to Kiwis, Johnny don't play. And Bill English must know that the moment he mentioned my name, I was going to immediately find the stupidest, most humiliating things about him that I could. Like this actual photo of Bill English in a virtual reality headset, which makes him look like a masturbating cyborg. Or this indescribably lame video he made of his exercise routine.
Well, about to head out for what I call a walk-run. Where I walk up the hills and run. The downhill bits. This is one bit where I run. And bits like this, I walk. Still walking, I'm running this bit. This is the bit where you feel fast. This bit makes you feel slow.
You know, after seeing that, I would give anything for Bill English to make a sex tape. Will, I'm about to head in for what I call a penis vagina, where I penis the vagina butts and she vaginas the penis butts. This is the bit where I penis fast, and this is the bit where I penis slow. Stick around, this is going to take a while. But perhaps the worst thing Bill English has ever been responsible for is this recent Facebook post where he writes, "Cooked dinner for the family last night, like if you agree with tin spaghetti on pizza, with photos of fucking canned spaghetti poured all over a revolting pizza he made." And I think I speak on behalf of all humanity when I say no. Hard no there, Bill. I do not agree with canned spaghetti on a pizza, because that is not a thing anybody should be doing. A divorced dad cooking for his kids on the weekend would not put canned spaghetti on a pizza. The caterer for Chef Boyardee's funeral would not put canned spaghetti on a pizza. And let's not forget, Bill, you also added pineapple to that abomination. And that's not dinner, that is, and this is true, an actual hate crime. What the fuck is your problem, Bill? You made that to feed to your family? To your children, Bill? How are you not in prison right now? The point is, I am sorry if our show is not to your liking, Bill English, Prime Minister of New Zealand. Although, to be honest, judging from your pizza choices, if I appealed to someone with your level of taste, I would be absolutely mortified. And you know, it's at times like these that a lyric from the song Lose Yourself comes to mind. Yo, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mum's spaghetti. And the reason those lyrics come to mind is though I would honestly rather eat Eminem's vomit spaghetti off his sweater than canned spaghetti and pineapple off one of your garbage pizzas, Bill. And now, this.
And now, a series of terrible pizzas that New Zealand Prime Minister Bill English would probably enjoy. A pizza topped with Skittles, baking soda, and condoms. A pizza topped with Altoids and horse laxatives, and you don't know which is which, so good luck with that. A pizza made by a purebred golden retriever. Good boy. A pizza topped with blueberries, onions, and a printed out copy of the Wikipedia entry for pizza. And finally, a pizza topped with 25 Blu-rays of 8 Mile. Because fuck you. Bon appetit, Bill. You filthy animal.
Moving on. Our main story tonight is something that you're probably not expecting, because we're going to talk about kidney dialysis. And I know that right now you're probably getting ready to push the button on your TV remote marked, "Dear God, literally anything else." But I promise you, this is worth listening to, because dialysis is not something that everybody understands. Just listen to one patient describe a conversation that she had with a neighbour.
I have a lady next door to me now. She said to me, "Where do you go 3 days a week?" She knew the 3 days a week. I said, "Why? Are you writing a book, a mystery?" I said, "I go to dialysis." She said, "Oh, you're a drunk. I thought you said you didn't drink." I said, "If you don't get out of my face, you will need a doctor."
Wow! If I was her neighbour, I would not fuck with that lady. What I would do is get out of her face, go home, Google what dialysis is, just to cool down the temperature in that relationship. And here is the answer to that. Dialysis is basically where a machine acts as your kidneys by taking blood out of your body, cleaning it, and then returning it to you. Think of it as a Brita pitcher for your blood, which, yes, is more disgusting than I needed to make it sound. Dialysis can be a truly exhausting process. You're typically sitting in a chair, physically attached to a machine for 3-4-hour sessions a week. And Americans have been at increasing risk of needing it because chronic kidney disease is the 9th leading cause of death in the United States. And while a lucky few manage to get transplants, for many, dialysis is their only option to stay alive. But interestingly here, while America spends more, by some accounts, than any other nation on dialysis care, we have one of the industrialised world's highest mortality rates. So we're spending the most to essentially get the least. We're basically paying for a fully loaded Lamborghini and receiving a drunk donkey on roller skates. This story, the story of dialysis, is an amazing case study of good intentions being thwarted by bad incentives, poor oversight, and profiteering. And one of the key characters in this story is, incredibly, this guy.
Just take those old records off the shelf. I said listen to 'em by myself. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time rock and roll.
Now, if you are understandably thinking, who is that man doing barefoot gymnastics to Bob Seger while dressed like the third saddest waiter at a medieval times? Well, that is the CEO of DeVita Incorporated, a for-profit kidney dialysis company, and I promise we will get to that man in a moment. But first, let me give you a sense of the history of dialysis in this country. Because in the early years of the machines, access to them was so limited, one hospital had an actual death panel to decide who would get to use them.
Somebody has got to decide who shall live and who shall die.
2 or 3 were rejected, I think. I don't know why, either for medical reasons or psychological reasons, or just didn't have the $30,000.
Mr. Duff, what happened to those who were turned down?
They're dead.
Oh, my God! That man does not sugarcoat things. They're dead. Also, your pet only loves you because you feed it. The tooth fairy is your father, and 30% of babies grow up to be assholes. Good day to you, sir. Now, in 1972, though, something amazing happened. Richard Nixon, yes, Richard Nixon, signed a bill into law which said that the government would pay for dialysis for anyone who needed it, which is really incredible. Essentially, we have universal health care in this country for one organ in the body. It's like your kidneys, and only your kidneys, are Canadian. Oh, sorry, there's 2 of us, eh? Don't mean to take too much space up down here, eh? That's a good accent, and I do not apologise for it. Now, at the time, that's a great accent. Now, at the time that bill was passed, it only covered around 10,000 patients. But 4 decades later, thanks in part to the rise of diabetes and high blood pressure, nearly 500,000 people are undergoing dialysis. That's a 46-fold rise. 46-fold. Technically speaking, that is a pug's face worth of folds. And as a result, and this is true, treating end-stage kidney disease takes up nearly 1% of the entire federal budget. Just think about that for a second. We devote 2% of the federal budget to the Department of Education, and that's the thing that helps you know what a percent is. And a vast industry has emerged to accommodate all these patients. There are around 7,000 outpatient dialysis clinics in the country today, and around 70% are owned by just 2 big for-profit companies, Fresenius and DaVita. And let me be clear, there are significant issues with both of them. But to understand this system tonight, we're going to focus on DaVita. Their CEO, Ken Thiry, is the showboating musketeer that you saw earlier, and he loves to inspire his employees at meetings. He's also made grand entrances on a bicycle. He's even ridden in on a horse. And spare a thought for that horse there. That is by far the most humiliating credit on its resume, and it did used to do porn, so you have to bear that in mind. Thiry is a former Bain & Company consultant who managed to take DaVita from near bankruptcy to being valued today at $13 billion. He's even been the subject of an admiring case study taught at Harvard Business School, which called his management style arguably eccentric. And you can see why. He calls his company a village, his employees teammates or citizens, and as for himself, well, he's got his own special title.
This is KT here, your mayor from the Casa Nueva in Colorado.
Yes, you heard right. He calls himself the mayor. A title so ridiculous you may not have noticed he's standing next to a fucking falcon. And that is the most humiliating thing on that bird's resume, and it used to do porn. So, at this point, we should probably address the whole weird musketeer thing. It's an obsession that apparently stems from the Leonardo DiCaprio movie, The Man in the Iron Mask, which Thiry says inspired him to make a transformative life decision to take the DaVita job, which is already insane, because this is a ridiculous movie to choose as the basis for anything. Let me give you just a small taste.
If we must die, let it be like this. One for all for one.
Remains one of the weirdest decisions in movie-making history. Hey, the world's biggest heartthrob at the peak of his popularity agreed to be in our movie. What should we do with him? Oh, I know. Let's put him in a weird mask that covers his whole face and just have him stand there. I guarantee that teenage girls all across America are going to have that image on their bedroom walls. He looks even hotter now. Thiry even closes company meetings quoting that movie.
If we must dialyze, let it be like this. One for all. One for all. One for all. Damn straight. Have fun. Good night.
Cool. And look, here's the thing. For shareholders, Thiry's techniques have worked. DaVita posted nearly $800 million in profit last year. But the experience for patients can be different. DaVita runs a pretty lean operation, which the government allows. You know, federal guidelines don't require clinics to have a doctor on site at any given time, which seems a little odd. They also require that only one nurse be present in the facility. And a study has found that for-profit clinics have about a third fewer nurses than their non-profit competitors. And that might explain why some DaVita patients say they can feel like they're a product on a factory line.
I had texts come up to me and say, oh, that's enough dialysis. You didn't pull off plenty. So it wager in my mind to believe, am I getting my full treatment that I'm supposed to be getting? Just because they're behind.
Yeah, you can't just speed up dialysis because you're behind schedule. It is a critical medical procedure, not a shower. Oh, I've only got 3 minutes, so I'm just washing the important parts, hair, armpits, and penis, because it's my little buddy. I'd never forget you, bud. Dialysis workers in California are currently trying to unionize over issues including staffing levels, and one former DaVita nurse of more than a decade, who DaVita told us was fired for violating company policy by asking employees to join a union at a clinic where he no longer worked, says workers felt constantly pressured to transition between patients as fast as possible.
Well, when I was working at DaVita, the priorities for transitioning patients was to get them on dialysis and get the next patient on as soon as possible. And it was all about numbers. You want to get them in, get their dialysis done, and get the next patient on. And you would have sometimes 15, maybe 25 minutes to get that next patient on the machine. So you were not properly disinfecting or doing the things that you needed to do properly.
Not properly disinfecting, that cannot be okay. I don't even want to go into a movie theatre that hasn't had enough time to be cleaned. And the worst thing that can happen to you there is shuffling through a waist-deep layer of popcorn and dried sticky cherry Coke. And look, DaVita will tell you its clinics operate to a high standard of care, its patients aren't rushed, they have many happy staff and customers, and they've shown steady improvement over the years. And they'll even point to the high number of clinics that have received 4 and 5 stars from the government's rating system. But that actually points to another oversight issue here, because weirdly, those ratings don't reflect things like government inspection reports for the clinics. Because remember that patient from before? We actually pulled her clinic's most recent report, which cited, among other things, multiple problems with infection control practices and a failure to demonstrate overall responsibility for the governance and operation of the facility, which placed all patients, staff, and visitors at risk of harm and possible death. And guess how many stars it has? 4 stars! So that 4-star rating should really come with a big asterisk, which, to be fair, does technically constitute a 5th star. Congratulations! And if it's beginning to feel like DaVita is run like a volume business, well, when you listen to Kent Theory, that can seem like it's by design. Just listen to him addressing business students at UCLA about what he sees as his company's role in society.
I almost never refer to patients in the entire thing, because for me, it's not about the patients, it's about the teammates. When you're in healthcare, it is nicer, easier, whatever, in the sense that you're actually very directly helping human beings. But to me, that's just not it. If I had 1,400 Taco Bells and 32,000 people who worked in them, I would be doing all the same stuff.
Yes. You heard him right. He just said he manages DaVita, a healthcare company, like he would a Taco Bell, the exact opposite of a healthcare company. Look.
Taco Bell has made a shell entirely out of fried chicken. Sounds crazy. But is it? So when you see the naked chicken chalupa with the first shell made entirely out of fried chicken, you might think it's crazy. Crazy delicious.
You know, it's a pretty safe sign that your product is awful when your commercial has to assure people on 2 separate occasions, look, we know we sound mentally ill, but trust us, it is food. It's actually food, I know. And look, to be fair, DaVita might tell you that they have to run their business so lean because the reimbursement they get from the government doesn't really cover their costs. But they have been repeatedly accused of finding innovative ways around that. For instance, a few years ago, the company was sued over accusations it had paid kickbacks to doctors for business.
The scheme is kind of complicated, but it basically works like this. DaVita would pick out doctors and physicians groups who cared for a large number of patients who had renal disease, and then it would offer them lucrative deals to refer patients to their dialysis clinics.
Okay, so that is obviously not good. You want to be sure that a doctor is referring you to a clinic because it's the best one for you, not because they have a financial relationship. You should only advocate for a product that you really believe in, like DeWalt's ladders. They don't pay me to say nice things about their products, people. Why would they? The ladders speak for themselves. Now, DaVita denies wrongdoing, but they did settle that lawsuit for $389 million. And remember that because it's about to become a theme. Because in 2012, a former medical director at a DaVita facility went public with claims about how DaVita treated some of the medicine that it could charge Medicare for. For instance, let's say a patient needed 100 milligrams of a drug called Venofer. You could give them, say, one 100 milligram vial, or you could do this.
What DaVita did, instead of this one vial, they gave 50 milligram out of this vial, residual, trash. 25, 75 to the trash. 25 again, 75 to the trash.
The more vials DaVita used, the more DaVita was able to bill the government.
Holy shit, that is the biggest waste of drugs since anyone who's done cocaine in a windstorm. Although, you know what? On the bright side, those pigeons look confident and they have somehow written screenplays. There you go. That's the beauty of cocaine, everyone. That's the beauty. Now again, DaVita strongly denied wrongdoing, and they did so even as they agreed to pay up to $495 million to settle that case. That's an almost $500 million oops, or as Yankees fans call it, an A-Rod. And a separate case accused them not so much of throwing extra drugs into the trash as throwing them into patients. And that involves something called Epogen, a medication used to raise a patient's red blood cell count. A whistleblower said that DaVita personnel referred to it as liquid gold, and with good reason. At one point, it accounted for a quarter of the company's revenue and up to 40% of its earnings, although it was later discovered that at the higher dosage levels that DaVita was using, there was no solid evidence that Epogen made people feel better, improved survival, or had any clinical benefit at all, which is incidentally also the new tagline for this television show. And it seems fair. It seems harsh, but increasingly fair. And I think you know what is coming now. DaVita denied any wrongdoing and settled that lawsuit for $55 million. And DaVita will say that they keep settling cases because they can't afford to get shut out from Medicare. But the fact remains, just the 3 cases I have mentioned in the last 5 years have resulted in them paying out nearly $1 billion in settlements. And that doesn't exactly give you confidence in their product. If the Fleshlight Company paid $1 billion in settlements, you would do what everyone else does, and you would fuck a microwaved cantaloupe. Yeah, 30 seconds on defrost, trust me, 30 seconds. 30 seconds, no more, but no less. 30 seconds is the sweet spot, ding, business time. But forget that, what was the point? The point is, here is where we get to the final and possibly the hardest part of this story, because the fact is, no matter what standard of care you get, the longer you are on dialysis, the worse things look for you.
People who are on dialysis, how long are they going to last?
Right, so the statistics are that 1 year after being on dialysis, your death rate is 25%. By 5 years, it's 65%.
And numbers like that are why, if you are at all eligible to get a kidney transplant, you absolutely should get one. It can double or even triple your survival rate. And yet, the government's main requirement for dialysis clinics in educating patients about transplants is that they simply check a box indicating that they've done so. And multiple studies of the industry have questioned the quality of some clinics' education.
Thousands of kidney patients in the United States start dialysis without first being told about kidney transplants or that the procedure would be cheaper and lead to longer lives. The newspaper reviewed records from the United States renal data system, and they found that some patients spent 5 years on dialysis before being put on the kidney transplant list.
It's true, some clinics are leaving out information that people really should know. And information on transplants at a dialysis clinic is a bit like information about the number of ferrets you own while you're on a Tinder date. You need to disclose that shit right up front so that people don't make a huge mistake. You have to do that. You have to do that. It's not right. You disclose that shit. You let her know. What's wrong with you? And look, DaVita disputes that those studies reflect their practices, saying that their most recent internal figures show them outperforming their competitors in percentage of patients receiving a transplant. Although, for what it is worth, we wanted to get a glimpse of what their education might look like, and honestly, it wasn't great. DaVita offers Kidney Smart classes, basically orientation for pre-dialysis patients, and they're open to the public. So we sent 4 staffers to classes at 4 different clinics here in New York, and they were all struck by how little emphasis was placed on the benefits of transplants and that they were often presented as an equivalent choice to dialysis. In fact, here is what happened when one staffer asked specifically about whether people who came to that clinic sought transplants.
It's a choice. It's actually a choice. You don't have to do a transplant. I've had patients that decided, no, I don't want that. And even if you don't have a donor, you go on that transplant list, when they do call you, of course you have the right to say, no, I don't think so. I don't want it now. You never know. Yeah. Things happen. I mean, this is a family. I mean, I know I say this and it sounds crazy, but I've had patients that said, no, I don't think I want to leave, so I won't take the transplant. And they stay. This is their community.
Okay. Suggesting that the cozy atmosphere of a DaVita dialysis centre is a valid reason to turn down a kidney transplant is the moral equivalent of watching someone tread water in the middle of the ocean and not encouraging him to take a fucking rope. Are you sure? Are you sure the ocean isn't your community? Are you sure you want that people have turned this rope down before, you know? There's no bad decision here. And look, We focused on DaVita because they have the most patients and Kent Theory dresses like an idiot all the time. But a lot of the problems we've seen run throughout the for-profit dialysis industry, including their main competitor, Fresenius, who just last year agreed to a $250 million settlement for thousands of lawsuits, claiming that the company's products had caused heart problems and deaths, claims that they deny because, you know, of course they do. So here's the thing. I know that all of this has been very complicated, but there are actually a few key lessons here. First, we need to make sure that dialysis clinics have better oversight, and we need to create better incentives for transplants and for treating kidney disease earlier to keep patients out of dialysis in the first place. And there are things that everyone can do to combat the kidney shortage. Truly amazing people can donate one of their own kidneys while they're still alive, and if you are someone considering doing that, holy shit, you're an amazing human being. Feel free to go to giveandlive.us for more information on that. And for the rest of us complete arseholes, we should at the very least, be organ donors when we die, because organs can go to waste as families hesitate to give approval when a loved one dies. So please, please make sure that your family knows that you want to be a donor. And once you've done that, maybe tweet out, #when I die, please take my kidneys, because if nothing else, it will really fuck with Twitter's trending topics tomorrow. But here's the thing. This country did a truly amazing thing. Richard Nixon did a truly... Really? Wow. History has changed. Richard Nixon did a truly amazing thing. He said we should take care of people with kidney disease, and we did it. And we should keep doing it, but we could do it a lot better. The care of America's kidneys is way too important to be treated like a fast food experience, which actually reminds me, there is another victim of this story, and that is Taco Bell. Yes, that's right. Taco Bell is owed an apology, and that sentence has never before made sense in the English language. But Taco Bell, I am truly sorry that a middle-aged musketeer dragged you into this. And I know that you're not going to stand up for yourselves, Taco Bell. You're too busy plotting your next Kristallnacht for the bowels. So don't worry. Take it easy. We've prepared a commercial to return fire for you. Please enjoy.
Hi, we're Taco Bell. You may know us from Volcano Nachos, the beefy Fritos burrito, and that taco with fried chicken for a shell. Take it from us.
You don't want to run a healthcare business like a Taco Bell.
No. To be honest, you shouldn't really run a Taco Bell like a Taco Bell.
No shit.
Because we're nothing like dialysis clinics. For a start, you may actually be more likely to find a doctor in one of our restaurants than in a dialysis clinic.
Shit. Can you blur my face?
Sure.
And the crunch wrap?
Fuck yeah, we can.
Oh, nice.
And look, we've certainly made our fair share of dubious claims. You know those breakfast burritos in our ads? This is what one actually looks like. Gross. But we sure as shit haven't spent the last few years paying out nearly $1 billion to settle lawsuits. Because we run a tight ship at Taco Bell.
If I lick the dust off the Doritos taco shells, they become regular taco shells.
Okay, the important thing is, our food may be barely fit for human consumption, but at least our CEO dresses in a suit like a human person, and he doesn't make us call him the mayor or do any of that weird musketeer nonsense. And you know why?
We're a company, not a child's birthday party.
Exactly. And while our food may be medically inadvisable, even we know that if you can, you should get a kidney transplant.
Oh, yeah, you should absolutely get a kidney transplant.
Yeah, no shit.
How'd you get back here?
Taco Bell. Hey, for once, we're the good guys here.
That's our show. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week. Good night.